Mr. Burnside, hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
You too.
You brought your new book, Glister. Could you say in a few words what's Glister about?
Well, originally the idea was that it was a kind of vision of hell. That this town that is described in the book is kind of a hell. And the people who live there, they're guilty and innocent, but only the innocent can be punished in hell and escape. So there's a kind of angel who comes through the book and he picks out individuals and saves them. But to save them, he has to do something terrible to them. So the children who disappear are actually, maybe they're dying in a horrible way, maybe they're being saved from hell. That was the idea, a vision of hell.
To do it step by step.
Yes.
It takes place in a place where a chemical industry has been. Everything is rotten.
Yeah.
People are depressed, strangely cold. What's wrong with them?
They've been poisoned by the chemicals physically, so they're all physically sick, but also they're poisoned morally by the world in which they live. All the time when they were making the chemicals, they knew really that they were dangerous, that they were doing something terrible. But they, like a lot of people do, they tell themselves that it was okay, they weren't doing anything really bad, and everything would be fine, it was for a good reason. And so morally they began to decay as well. So now the chemical plant is closed and they're all very sick and they're unemployed. They've begun to realize that they threw their lives away really, and they made a kind of moral compromise. But there's nothing they can do about it now because it's too late. So they're kind of frozen in a kind of limbo state.
Yeah, it's kind of frozen, right?
Yeah.
They're even not able to leave this place.
No.
But children disappear, so somebody leaves in a totally different way.
Yeah.
What has happened to these children?
The boys disappear, but and the adults say that the boys have run away, got to go somewhere else. But of course, the policeman, the only person who knows really everything, the policeman knows that the boys haven't disappeared. They haven't escaped. Something terrible has happened to them, and he knows at least one that the boy's dead. But
why doesn't he talk about this?
He's too scared. It would involve making a decision of his own, and he can't make decisions. Morally, he's fallen apart. So he can't do anything unless somebody else tells him that he can do it. He needs permission to do it. And I feel as though it's a little bit like the society in which I grew up in, for example, where grown men didn't make any decisions of their own. They couldn't make decisions of their own because they had been taken. There was so little power. So much power had gone away from them that they couldn't make even the most ordinary decisions about their own lives, about how to help their children or how to behave. They just lived according to the rules that were laid down for them. So their lives were completely narrow and constricted.
This is also a form of hell,
yes.
Of being dead. There's one person in the book called Leonard, 15-year-old boy.
Yeah.
He's the hope for the reader.
Exactly, yeah. Well,
what does he do?
Well, Leonard's alive. He's the only one who really is alive. And, well, actually, some of the girlfriends are alive too, but in a different way. But Leonard he's like, I was like him when I was his age. I lived in an industrial town. It was a horrible place to live. It was dirty, it was poisoned. Recently there was a big court case about the poisoning in the ground. And like Leonard, I put my life together from the library, from looking at old films, and a kind of interior fantasy life, and constantly trying to make up new stories and trying to survive morally and imaginatively in a place which was completely grey. The overwhelming impression of it is greyness. Even when I used to go cycling a lot, and when I put a t-shirt on one day and cycled past the steel mill, and when I came, a white t-shirt, perfectly white, my mother had just washed it, and when I came home it was completely grey, just from being in the air next to this place. So everything was grey, and the only way to get any colour or any kind of sense of story was to search for it somewhere else. So I remember sitting up to watch late night movies and old film noir and reading classic novels and creating a kind of imaginative world out of all these things.
World.
Yeah, completely, yeah. And Leonard's exactly like this. So Leonard's made up his own world in which he can live. But nobody else knows that world. Everybody else is outside it.
What does he do? What is his form to react?
Sorry?
What does he do? What is his form to react in Glister?
Well, He's
Or to act, maybe.
yeah, he doesn't actually do very much in a sense, but he makes friends with this man who he thinks is maybe a kind of special person that has some kind of secret. He doesn't know what the secret is, and the man is called the Mothman. That's all he knows. The man is like a naturalist doing a survey of moths, and he makes friends with this man. So that's one thing. Another thing is that he indulges in random sex, basically, and he likes all the girls, and in the book he has two girlfriends, and the sex is kind of like completely meaningless, really, in some ways.
It's kind of entertainment.
Yeah, it's not emotional, but he's actually searching for something, but he doesn't know what love is because he's never really had that. His mother left, his father's sick, he's alone, and he's trying to find ways of relating to the world. So he has these girls, and he has the man called John the librarian, who someone says it's a self-portrait. John's a fat guy who smokes dope outside the library and has all these books, and he reads all these books, and he doesn't really understand them very well, but he makes a world up. So really all he does is imaginative. He imagines things. But I think you can change the world by using your imagination. So maybe it's not such a bad thing. But in the end, maybe he escapes. Maybe. Well, the ending, I call it the Schrodinger's cat ending. Two things have to happen exactly at the same time, which are contradictory, and they must both be true at the same time. Why not? It's an experiment.
You call your book Glister.
Yeah.
Everything is dark. Where's the glister? Is Leonard the glister? Is the book the glister, maybe?
Well, glister glister is an old-fashioned word in English. You don't use it very much anymore. But there's an old saying, all that glisters is not gold. You have the same in German.
We have the same in German, yes. Nicht alles, was funkelt.
Exactly. So the idea, of course, is that glister is fake. It isn't real gold. But the illusion of something, if there's nothing else, the illusion of something might be a way of escaping from the rest. So glister is it's a kind of metaphor for the imagination. But also there's a little joke in it, because glister is actually a mistake the boy makes, because he sees this word on one of the machines, and he thinks it's a word, but in fact it's the name of the maker of the machine. So it's a cruel joke. It's quite a cruel joke. It's quite a cruel book, actually.
Is it a book against the mentality to look away?
Yes. Yeah. It's quite odd because you don't want to write a book that's, say, for example, obviously environmental, say. You don't want to write a book that's polemical or obviously political, but it was a kind of study of the mentality that allows us to live in the world we're living in, do the kind of things that we're doing, and allow ourselves to be taken advantage of and manipulated by people who haven't got the best interests either of us or the planet. I don't want to make it into a kind of environmentalist book. It's just about that psychology, the psychology that says, yeah, look away, don't worry about it, and maybe it'll go away. And obviously Leonard doesn't want to do that, but there's nowhere to go. Everywhere, I've been involved in various things to do with environmental activism, and when you're talking to people, often they say, yeah, I'd love to change things, but I feel helpless. And that's an easy excuse, I feel helpless, so I won't do anything because I feel helpless. Surely if you feel helpless, you should be doing something. So that's what, Leonard's angry with people around him, and he feels helpless too, but he's trying to find some way to change things, or to change himself, or something.
If he's successful, we have to read the book.
Yes. He's both successful and not successful. Yeah.
Like life is.
Like Schrodinger's cat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.